Hi everyone and welcome to Amy Learns to Cook. On the show today, we're gonna make frijoles charros. This is cowboy beans and they are absolutely fabulous for upcoming Cinco de Mayo. So join me as we make frijoles charros. So the dish that we're going to make is frijoles charros, and it's basically a dish from northern Mexico and the Southwest, and it's basically cowboy beans. It was made by the cowboys of the old day, and they were out working hard, and nothing was better than a pot of beans. It's traditionally made with pinto beans, and pinto beans is a bean that I absolutely love. It is actually my favorite. It's nice and creamy, and it is absolutely delicious. This recipe we are going to be cooking in a multi-cooker, but you can actually cook it on the stove in a cast iron pot would be wonderful. You can even make this outside. Going out camping, this is a great dish. So let's start our prep. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of prep. It's good to have everything done so when you're ready to go to the pan, you're not fumbling around with a lot of stuff. So to make it really quick, we're going to use our food processor. And this is my Breville food processor. And we're going to be using this mini bowl that's inside. First, so we're going to chop up some cilantro. Let's put our lid back on. And what I have here is just one bunch of cilantro. I've already washed it. And we're going to go ahead and just have a couple leaves in here that need to come off. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to shave the leaves off, just like before. And we're going to get these big major stems out of here. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and put this in. One great thing about this food processor is you can feed in to the mini bowl right from the feed tube. And we're just going to go ahead and give this a pulse. You don't want to do it too much because we're not trying to make cilantro soup. So we're just going to pulse, give it a couple pulses so it's nice and chopped up. And we pretty much should be there. So I have 7 cloves of garlic. You don't really need this many. You can go anywhere from like 4. I love garlic, so we're going for it, right? And so we're gonna put this into our food processor. I still have the mini bowl in here. We're gonna go ahead and drop this in, and we're just gonna mince this. Awesome, easy as pie. So I have 3 small onions. You can use 1 big onion. The big onions at the store I went to this morning didn't look that great, so this is what looked okay. And we can go ahead and throw the onions in here. And we're going to give them a little chop. Just want to pulse them because you're not making onion soup. You're just sort of dicing them. And because this is sort of pot of beans, you want it rustic. You don't need perfectly chopped onions like you would if you're making some other kind of dish. So now my favorite part, we are going to do a little bit of chilies. And you can put all kinds of different chilies in here depending on how hot you want it. I'm a little bit of a wimp, so we're going to go with, I have 3 Anaheims. And I'm just going to cut the end off and cut it this way, and we're going to rinse these and get the seeds out of them. Jalapeno side to them, but they're a little bell pepper-ish. So here's some jalapeno. We're going to go ahead and get those ends cut off. So I'm going to run these over to the sink and get them rinsed up. So now we're going to process our chilies. And I think I'm going to cut these Anaheims in half just so they don't turn into soup to get them all done. We're going to go ahead and drop them in the Breville. Okay, so we're just going to post the Anaheims just a little bit get them started. And then we're going to put in the jalapeno. And pretty good. So I have 4 pretty big sized Roma tomatoes. These are pretty large. If you're using regular large tomatoes, maybe 1 to 2. If you have Romas, depending on the size, maybe 4 or 5 Romas. And we're just going to chop these up into like little cubes. This is a nice firm tomato. That's one nice thing about Romas. They're nice and firm. Romas are really big. So I have 4, which might be a little overkill. So we'll see when we are putting it in how it looks in the pot. So now it's time to prep one of the stars of the show. Bacon. Bacon! And what I have here is some thick cut bacon. And you kind of want it thick cut so you have a little bit of oomph to your bacon so it doesn't totally disintegrate. But we are going to cut it up into like bite-sized bacon bits. And you can use different kinds of meat for this. You can use a chorizo. You could use a ham hock. You can use all kind of stuff. We're sort of bacon people. Right, Eric? Bacon! So, that's what we're going for. So we're going to be cooking this in a KitchenAid multi-cooker. And like I said, this definitely can be done on the stove in a cast iron pot, like an enameled Le Creuset or something like that. You can also do it in sort of electric pot. I suppose you could do it in a slow cooker. This is basically a multi-function cooker. So it can slow cook, it can saute, it can sear, it can do all that kind of stuff. And what's great, different than a slow cooker, is you can sear stuff off, then turn it on slow cooker. So you still have that seared taste where you get a little caramelization going on it. One thing that's great about this multi-cooker is it actually has this station that goes on the back that's a stirrer. And it's really great for risotto or anything else. You're making potatoes in this, and it stirs it at an interval automatically for you. I don't have that. I've sort of asked Santa for my birthday for the stir station. But anyway, it has a pot that comes out like this. It's just like if you were to use like a Ninja or a Nesco roaster or something similar to that. This is just KitchenAid's version of that. So what we're going to do is turn our power on, and we're going to cycle through the settings. Right now it's on sear, which is 450 degrees. It also has saute, which we're going to be using. It has boil and simmer, slow cooker, high, slow cooker, low, keep warm. You can make yogurt in this. Risotto, if you have the stir station, soup, rice, a manual setting where you can set the temperature yourself, and back to our sear. So we are going to be on saute. We're going to go ahead and click this, and it's going to go in through a preheat cycle. So first off, we're going to cook our bacon, and the multi-cooker is up to 350 degrees. And we have our bacon that we chopped. We're going to go ahead and put this in here. There we go, right? Yum. So we're just going to cook our bacon till you want it a little bit crisp. You don't want it to be like flabby bacon in there. So we're going to cook this. You can do it to your desired doneness. But just be in mind, if you don't cook it till it's a little bit crisp, when it gets in the pot and you eat it, you'll be eating a little bit of flabby bacon because it won't cook anymore in the pot. It'll just render off its goodness, but it will leave it kind of flabby. So We just want to cook this and brown it off. So our bacon is looking nice. It's given off some of its goodness. And we're going to take this out and we're just going to put it on a little napkin here to drain it off. The reason you do this is we still need to cook the onions and stuff, and you don't want the bacon to burn. So we're just going to take it out temporarily so we can avoid that. So next up, we're going to put in our onion, and we're going to sweat this off a little bit in the bacon fat, right? We're going to cook these until the raw edges off of them. We don't really need to caramelize them. We're just going to soften them. Okay, so next we're going to put in our peppers. We have our Anaheim and jalapeno peppers. And we're going to go ahead and soften these up as well. Okay, now we're going to add in our garlic. Garlic doesn't need to saute in here too long, maybe a minute or so. So what I have here is 1 pound of pinto beans. You can use canned beans, but I prefer to use the real thing, right? I soaked these overnight in some water, changed the water halfway through just to soften them up a little bit. If you didn't do that, you need to fill this up with water, throw the beans in there, and you're going to have to cook them maybe 2 hours to get them to soften up. These are sort of softened, so they might take a little bit longer. Basically make sure you sort your beans, get out any pebbles or unbean looking beans, right? So we're going to go ahead and put our beans in. Also going to put in our tomatoes, and I cut quite a bit of tomatoes here because my tomatoes were really big. And now we are going to fill this up with some water. So how much water you have really depends on a lot of things. You just want to cover your beans. You probably have to add some more as time goes through. I'm going to put in a little bit more. That was 4 cups. We're going to put in a little bit more. This is going to be cooking for quite a while. So we're not making soup. So we're going to be cooking these down for several hours. We also want to put back in the bacon. Okay, so we're going to season it now. We're looking a little green because I had a lot of peppers in there, but I like that. So we're not making chili, but I am going to put a little bit of chili powder in. That's going to give us some color. I'm going to put a cup, maybe a tablespoon or so. You're going to have to adjust your seasonings along as you go. You don't want to over salt it at this point because it'll just cook down and get really bad. So this is some garlic powder. Put a couple tablespoons of garlic powder in there. This is a very complicated dish, so you have to measure exactly, right? I have some cumin. I think we'll start out with about that much. I have a little Mexican oregano. Some freshly cracked black pepper. And we will be adjusting this as we go along because we got a lot of cooking to do on this. And we're going to put some salt. We're going to keep it pretty bland until the end because we really want to salt near the end. We don't want it reducing and turning this into a big salt lick. So let's go ahead and stir this up. Wow, it smells really good. We'll probably be adding more seasonings as we go along. We just got to get this cooking. What's going to happen is the beans are going to start softening more. They're going to start giving up their pot liquor. And basically it's going to turn this broth into a pot liquor. It's going to reduce and it's going to be really, really good. So this is sort of a set it and forget it at this point. We're going to put our lid on and we're going to let it go We're gonna check in about an hour. It just started adjusting some seasonings. This could take 2, you can cook it even 3 hours, depending on how reduced you want it. It's definitely not a soup. So as we go along, I'll show you how it's gonna look. So our frijoles charros has been cooking for about 3 to 4 hours. Now how long you have to cook it really depends on how soft your beans are, how much liquid you put in there, but there's some things that you wanna look for. You wanna look for a nice, thick bean, like a stew. You're not looking for a chili, and you're not looking for it to be really liquidy. What you want is you want this pot liquor, just like that. You want it nice and thick, and you want a slightly bit, this right here is like liquid gold. It is absolutely delicious. You don't want it too soupy because it's not a soup or a stew. It's a pot of cowboy beans, right? So you may have to adjust the seasoning. You don't want to add too much chili powder because you're obviously not making a chili. You want to bring the salt level up depending on your individual taste. And since I use plain water, I had to use quite a bit of salt. But you want to salt it in layers. So every time you check out, salt it a little bit, salt it a little bit. You don't want to over salt it. There will be a point where the salt will bring out the taste of those pinto beans, and it will just be like, right? It's there. But if you take it too far, it's not going to be good. And if you don't put enough in there, it's not going to be good. It's going to be bland. So keep tasting it, keep cooking it down until you get a nice, thick pot liquor in there. Those beans will be absolutely fantastic. So we're going to put a little bit of cilantro in here. We chopped that up before. And the cilantro is just to brighten it up a little bit. It doesn't really have to cook too much. You might want to cook it maybe a half hour or so after that, just to cook that totally raw taste out. We also have a lime here. And what the lime is going to do, I always tell Eric, I always put a dash of lime in things at the very end. And he's like, oh, it gives it that little bright flavor. It brightens it. To me, it gives me the little cheeky. When you taste it, it gives you a little cheeky, citrusy, limey, just sort of aftertaste to it. It's absolutely fantastic to do that. You don't want to put a lot because you don't want to over cheek it, right? But you just want to give it a little bit of cheeky. So we're just going to take this half a lime and we're going to squeeze it in there. This is kind of a juicy lime, so I better be careful. You don't want to put too much because you're not making lime soup. Just enough, and you'll know it. You'll get the little cheeky, little lime taste on your cheeks when it goes down. So, let me test the little and see. Wow. All I have to say is, what is this? Cheeky. Wow. So let me get a bowl and we can take our official taste test. So I'm going to go ahead and serve a little bit up. And that gravy is it's just fabulous. You're never going to get this in anything store-bought. And actually, it's a lot better than anything I've had in a restaurant. I can tell you that I absolutely love pinto beans. They're my absolute favorite. They're creamy. They're so distinct compared to other kind of beans. They're mainly from northern Mexico. And one of the things you'll see on the dry beans is they have like a tiger stripe on them. And pinto means painted. It's basically a painted bean. And one thing you'll notice as you cook them, that painting will go away and they'll get even color on them, which is kind of amazing because you know your beans are starting to cook when when the streaks go away on the bean. So let's take a taste. Wow. There is absolutely nothing like pinto beans. And there is absolutely nothing like Frijoles Charros. I could eat this every single day. It is so good with your tacos, with your burritos. You could just eat a bowl of this with some cornbread. I would say that this recipe is 100% thumbs up with both thumbs. There's absolutely nothing like it. Ah! The little rat came and stole it. So, Frijoles Charros, give it a try. You will never, ever look at a pot of beans the same. So this pot of beans is actually a thumbs up to the Cowboys of northern Mexico. We want to really appreciate you giving us such a gift as these Cowboy Beans. If you like this recipe, please subscribe below and give me a like and a comment. And visit my website at amylearnstocook.com. I'm also on Twitter and Pinterest at Amy Learns to Cook.